Hey, what's going on, guys? Before we get into the actual video, here's a little piece I had to add on. This is probably the most damning evidence of Evil Dead borrowing or taking from the movie Equinox from 1970. As you can see on the left here, this is video footage from Equinox, and on the right, of course, is the opening sequence for Evil Dead 2. This is just the beginning of their similarities. Also, I forgot to mention in the actual video the importance of necklaces in both Equinox and Evil Dead 2. So for whatever reason, I forgot to mention these things, but here's that information now up front. Let's go ahead and get into the actual video that I put together for you guys. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Parker, and before we get started, I would just like to ask that you like and subscribe if this is the kind of content you would like to see me creating more of. I am also working on other videos similar to this, not exactly the same, of course. If you like this video, there's a good chance you'll like the other ones I'm working on. So we'll get into that as they come in, but in the meantime, let's go ahead and start with today's topic, and that is Evil Dead and where its influences came from. Now, originally this video was going to be about Evil Dead and how it basically is a remake of Equinox, a movie released in 1970, 9 years prior? Well, I guess, yeah, 9 years prior to the production of Evil Dead, 11 years prior to the release of Evil Dead. A lot of you watching this have probably seen Evil Dead and its sequels, but for those of you who don't know anything about the series, I'm just going to give you the brief rundown. Evil Dead was filmed in 1979 and released in 1981, and in it, a young group of friends go on a trip to a cabin in the woods, where they discover a tape recorder and a book bound in human flesh and inked in human blood, as well as a dagger made of bones, I guess. I'm not sure what the story behind that is. But the young group of friends get possessed and killed off one by one. It stars Bruce Campbell, who plays Ash Williams, the only survivor of the film. Its sequel and also sort of remake, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, was released in 1987, and Evil Dead 3, later renamed Medieval Dead and then renamed Army of Darkness, was released in 1992. There was a reboot in 2013, a TV series from 2015 to 2018, and a new movie that's being made as we speak called Evil Dead Rise. So today I'm just going to be discussing the original Evil Dead trilogy, the franchise as I see it, parts 1, 2, and 3. And I'll get into a little bit more in depth on my opinions on each one of these movies in separate videos, because I have a lot to say about this particular movie series. Great movie series, but I have my opinions. So the focus here is the similarities between Equinox 1970 and the Evil Dead franchise going from 1981 to 1992. Alright, so both Equinox and the Evil Dead franchise focus on a group of young friends going out of town, getting away, and taking a little trip to a cabin in the woods, basically. I remember reading the summary for Equinox and thinking to myself, this sounds an awful lot like Evil Dead. It sounded familiar, I thought. But it's not just that it's about a young group of friends going away on a nice little vacation out in the woods, going to a cabin to relax or what have you. The similarities don't stop there. There's also the central plot point of a book of spells, I suppose you could call it, that is being sought after by demons in both movies, and that humans happen to have their hands on currently. In Equinox, they refer to the book as the Book of the Damned. And in Evil Dead and its subsequent sequels, it is referred to as the Book of the Dead or the Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Both books, by the way, have crudely drawn spooky drawings and wacky writing. Now I'm just going to get this part out of the way because it comes up again. But both films, Equinox and the Evil Dead franchise, feature demons forcing themselves on women. And that's just me putting it as nicely as I can because there's no nice way to put that. But we'll get back to that in a minute. Both Equinox and the Evil Dead franchise use a tape recorder to provide backstory and insight into what's going on behind the story or before the story. Also featured in both Equinox and the Evil Dead franchise is an old man who's using the book to open a door to another world or dimension. This part might sound like a bit of a reach, but it counts because of the number of similarities. I'm just going to throw this in there. Both Equinox and the Evil Dead franchise features a bridge being taken into the woods as being an important part of the travel. Now I know you can go, hey man, I've seen movies with bridges in them before. That doesn't mean shit. What are you talking about, Justin? And I'm gonna just tell you, in this instance, I'm gonna say it counts. Any other time I'd be like, well, it's just a bridge. What are you talking about? You're reaching. In this case, I'm gonna say I'm not. I was surprised that in Equinox the bridge wasn't destroyed. So if anybody knows where that was inspired by, or if that's inspired by something, let me know. Drop that in the comments, because I have a feeling that came from another source, and we'll get into that in a minute too. But now, Equinox has a castle in it. Evil Dead does not have a castle. Oh wait, part 2 and part 3 have a castle in it. In both Equinox and the Evil Dead series, both have sounds being made coming from the sky or seemingly from nowhere. That's the sounds from another dimension, basically. Both Equinox and the Evil Dead franchise feature terrible claymation, which at the time probably looked great. Now, as much as I find myself saying the Evil Dead franchise was heavily influenced by one movie, I go, well, at least there's some original content. Some, new ideas being used that they didn't steal from anywhere else. Like Severed Hand, killing a woman with a knife. But then I saw Demonoid, which was made in 1981, where we see a man's severed hand jump and grab a gun, and then it shoots a woman dead. Now, this was 6 years before Evil Dead 2, where we see the severed hand attacking and killing a woman with a knife, and it was released the same year as the first Evil Dead. But speaking of killer severed hand movies from 1981, there is also a movie simply titled The Hand. And it's more of the same old killer severed hand stuff. The only difference here is the fella who loses his hand has a crude mechanical hand made like that we see in Army of Darkness. Then again, the movies The Hand, Demonoid, and Evil Dead 2 could have all taken their killer crazy severed hand gag and been inspired by another movie from 1973, which was titled And Now the Screaming Starts. A movie centered around a killer's severed hand, and also it has a spirit that forces itself on a woman. Now, wait a minute, I can't say that they took the possessed hand inspiration fully from these other movies, because in Evil Dead 1981, we do briefly see a woman's hand become possessed. It does not get severed, it does not run around and kill anybody. But it becomes possessed, and it draws an image of what I would say looks like Doodle Bob. Wait, no, that's the Necronomicon. Okay, my mistake. But the possessed hand is not removed, making me think the severed hand gag was influenced by the other movies mentioned earlier. Also, probably some inspiration came from the Addams Family. I can imagine a young Sam Raimi watching the Addams Family and going, hey, you know what the thing should do? Flip people off, and laughing hysterically at the idea for at least an hour. Now, one last thing before I forget is I want to point out one little influence, I think, over part 3 of the Evil Dead franchise. That's Army of Darkness, which came out in 1992. Well, 3 years prior to that, the first episode of the second season of a show called Monsters, which was a horror anthology. Absolutely love that show. The first episode is called The Face, where it shows two brothers attempting to rob an old woman. When she cries out for help, one of the brothers puts his hand over her mouth and she bites him, thus leading him to killing her, and the wound slowly starts to turn into the face of the old woman. It begins talking to them and tormenting them for the crime. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't watched this episode in like a year. So basically, I think one brother ends up killing the other brother, and now he's got two faces growing out of him, and you see the eyeball peeking out. It's very reminiscent of Army of Darkness, the windmill scene when Ash splits into two different people, or I should say good Ash and bad Ash, or evil Ash. The weirdest part about this particular possible influence, and here's why I think it's an influence, because I'm not just reaching here. Not only does this feel like it influenced that windmill scene of Army of Darkness, but it also feels the entire episode, and you should look it up. It's called The Face. It's the first episode in season 2, or episode number 25 of Monsters TV series. But the entire episode feels like it's paying homage to Evil Dead, as if it was ripping off Evil Dead or being influenced by Evil Dead. And yet, not only is it paying a bit of a tribute, because it just feels like Evil Dead through the whole thing. You know, you'll see if you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. To me, it's completely weird and cool to think that something is paying homage to something while also possibly inspiring the sequel to the thing that it's being influenced by. So yeah, be sure to look into that. Well, I believe that's my time for today. I ran a little bit longer on this topic than I intended to. Now it's up to you to leave a comment and tell me what you agree with or what you disagree with in regards to Evil Dead being influenced by Equinox and the other movies and TV show that I have mentioned here. If you like content like this, I am working on other videos similar to this, of course not on the same exact topic, but similar in style. And if that sort of thing interests you, consider subscribing to my channel, and also don't forget to smash like on this video. And that does it for me. Thank you for watching once again.